They're like rats. I know.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Bartlett Plan Commission to order on September 14, 2017 at 7:02. Will the secretary call the roll?
Lemberg?
Here. Here.
Sorry, I didn't hear him. Mark Hopkins? Tim Ridenauer?
Here.
John Miasso?
Here.
Diane Nagel? Here. Austin Hopkins?
Here.
Jack Yellen?
Here.
Jerry Callis? Tom Connor?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the August 10, 2017 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Move to a second.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? Secretary call the roll.
Tim Ridenauer?
Yes.
John Miasso?
Yes.
Diane Nagel?
Yes.
Austin Hopkins?
Yes.
Jack Yellen?
Yes.
Tom Connor?
Yes.
And Lemberg.
Yes. This evening, we have 3 public hearings. If anyone in the audience has a question, comment, on the table in the back there by the clock is a witness form. We'd like to have you fill out with your name and address and hand it into Jim, and we will call your name at the appropriate time for whichever item is being discussed. The next item on the agenda is number 17-05, Balance Chiropractor Site Plan Review. Let's see, and here is Angela.
Yes. The existing building was built around 1987, sorry about that, sometimes referred to as the Borman Building, and has had many uses over the years, including an animal hospital, advertising agency, and tutoring center. The petitioner is requesting a site plan review to demolish the existing 2-story brick building located at 368 South Main Street and to construct a new 6,152 square foot building consisting of a chiropractic office on the first floor and 2 residential apartments on both the first and second floors towards the back of the building. The proposed building will have a prairie-style look and be constructed of materials similar to the neighboring residential properties. The height of the building would be 26 feet 2 inches at the corners of the building with a median height of 23 feet 5, meeting the zoning code. The petitioner requested 5 different variations, a 30-foot reduction from the 50-foot front yard setback, an 18-foot reduction from the required 50-foot front yard parking setback, a 10-foot reduction from the required 20-foot side yard southern property line building and parking setback, and a 10-foot reduction from the required 20-foot side yard, which is the northern property line parking setback, and then a 25-foot reduction from the required 30-foot rear yard parking setback for that existing parking lot in the back. Staff did take this to ZBA last week for the variation request, and they did recommend approval for all of the different variations. Currently, the property has a curb cut in the middle of the site along Main Street and 1 shared access drive aisle along the northern property. There is a recorded cross-access easement agreement between the property and the property to the north. The petitioner proposes to eliminate the curb cut in the middle of the site along Main Street and utilize the shared curb cut to the north for all traffic. Eliminating curb cuts along Main Street is also a recommendation from the Downtown Transit-Oriented Development Plan, also referred to as the TOD plan. The petitioner has also shown cross-access easement on the west side, which is the rear of the lot, to connect the parking lot to the property to the south when or if it does develop. The petitioner proposes to have 25 parking stalls, including 1 handicap stall, which exceeds the parking requirement of 24. The petitioner also proposes to install a bike rack, which is a recommendation from the downtown TOD plan along the northeast corner of the building. They also propose to add a trash enclosure west of the building in the existing parking lot. Currently, the previous owners and tenants shared the trash enclosure with the northern property, so they are now creating their own. The downtown TOD plan did include planning strategies for the revitalization of older properties in the downtown that would enhance the visual appeal along the Main Street corridor. The project accomplishes that objective not only with the updated architecture of the building, but also by bringing the building closer to the street frontage, locating a majority of the parking in the rear of the building, and adding that bike rack and eliminating the curb cut, which is also another recommendation. The petitioner has been operating out of a tenant space in Westgate Commons since about 2006. If approved, the petitioner will be relocating to this new building, and staff recommends approval. The petitioners are here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Could you state your name and address, please?
Sure. Julie Salyers, J&B Builders, 2000 West Main Street, Unit H, St. Charles, Illinois.
Dr. Robin Ackerman, owner of Balance Family Chiropractic at 776 West Bartlett Road, Bartlett.
Do you have anything further to add than what staff has presented?
I think there was a concern about the current drainage as far as how it relates to the property north of ours. Currently, there is a catch basin on the east, in the east parking lot, which will be demolished. And there's 2 catch basins on the back side of the property. We are keeping a catch basin in that back area. However, we're dropping it down a little bit. Right now, it's very flat back there, and possibly get 2 to 3 inches in a heavy rainstorm of ponding back there. We don't believe there's a restrictor back there, but you get 2 to 3 inches of ponding before it starts to flow to the adjacent property right now. So we've dropped that catch basin, the rim elevation down, and we've also adjusted the grades along the back there, so in a heavy type rainstorm event, if there is any backup, there will be about a foot of ponding before it would move to other parts of our property or Dr. Ackerman's property, and will not, it should not flow to the other adjacent property. Also, currently, the existing downspouts from the existing building basically sheet drain. They sheet drain across the parking lot and into the catch basin. We're tying all of those downspouts directly into that storm line in the back of the building. So it'll eliminate that sheet draining and all that extra excess water off of the roof from sheet draining and possibly ponding on the parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the members in the commission?
Is there an existing fence on the west side of the property, and will that be changed at all, or?
That is not on our property. It's the adjacent property owner's fence.
Okay.
There is a border, I think that was required back when the Bormans had it, of bushes in front of the fence, and we're going to replace that with landscaping. So in front of their fence, there'll be a layer of landscaping too.
And then in that rear parking lot there's going to be light posts added? Or,
Yes.
'cause there's not currently anything there, right?
There's one, is there one in the very
There's
back?
one big light post, but I think, go ahead.
But we are adding, there's one, it will be a bollard type light right there so that we don't reflect property onto the residential properties to the west of us.
Okay.
The photometric plans that we submitted indicate no light will pass our lot lines.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
What's the size of Borman's building now, do you know, square foot wise on the first floor?
The current building, 6,000 square feet,
How many?
6,000.
3,000
It's 2
square feet per
floors.
floor?
3,000 per floor.
And you're 4286, 4285 on your first floor? What kind of variations did we have for Borman's building?
Kind of what? I'm sorry.
What kind of variations did we have for Borman's building, do we know?
I did not find any previous variation request. It was built, like I said, in the 80s. And even, I kind of mentioned that they're not changing that current parking lot in the back, which does require variations today.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
I didn't see any variations, but
No,
that I could find.
we don't have an overlay of the old, do we?
Not in your packet. I do have one I could show you if you'd like.
I don't know if you're aiming towards this or not, but if you look at the roof area and the sidewalk and pavement area of the existing building, it was calculated at 5,275 square feet. Our new impervious area is 15,886 square feet. So we're only increasing the impervious area about 600 square feet.
It's hard for me to tell. Maybe I don't have the right picture. The green space is in the front.
Oh, okay. So the existing, here is the adjacent property south of us, right here. So it's approximately right around here where the existing building is. Whoops, I'm sorry. I was looking.
So currently, the existing building is about in line with this one parking stall right here, and then it goes up about here. And then there's a parking lot in the front with the entrance that goes right through here, too.
Where's the sidewalk at? Is that at the edge of this green space here?
Correct, it's
On the
right,
east side?
it's directly to the east of their property line,
Okay.
in the right-of-way. Sorry.
Anyone else have any questions?
How big are the apartments?
They're about, was it 900 square feet each? It's going to be a loft style, so there'll be
Like
a
42, is this the second floor?
first floor and a second floor. The first floor will have an open living room, a kitchen, and then you'll go upstairs and there'll be almost like overlooking a bedroom, closet, laundry.
Yeah, one bedroom, loft type apartment.
Okay.
Anyone else? That's it? Okay. Okay, then at this time, we're going to have is there a motion to approve the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and finding the fact?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Oh, it's not a public,
Pardon?
it's not a public hearing.
This one's not a public hearing.
So moved. Second, I mean.
Second? Any additions or corrections? Secretary, call the roll.
John,
Who was the second on that?
Diane.
Diane?
thank you. John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel. Yes. Austin Hopkins.
Yes.
Jack Yellen. Tom Connor,
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, good luck. Next item on the agenda is number 17-11. Rana, Plan 2, preliminary and final PUD plan, special use permit for a PUD. This is a public hearing. So if anyone has a question or comment, form is on the table in the back there. Fill it out, please, and hand it in to Jim. And at the appropriate time, we'll call to your name. So where do we have all the documents and postings?
Yes, we do. So the petitioners, Rana Meal Solutions, are back again tonight for a request of a preliminary final PUD plan to construct a second building directly west of the current Rana facility along Brewster Creek Boulevard. The new building and associated parking area would be located on the west 11.7 acres of the 18.25 acre subject property and would be built to accommodate Rana's new lasagna line.
Yeah.
As outlined in the zoning ordinance, two principal buildings located on one zoning lot requires a PUD application, and therefore the petitioner is also requesting a special use permit for the PUD overlay on the subject property. No changes are proposed to the existing building, consisting of approximately 133,000 square feet and located on the east 6.5 acres of the site. The new 326,000 square foot building would consist of 3 stories and be approximately 44 feet 10 inches tall. It would be constructed with precast concrete panels painted white with a gray accent band and aluminum frames placed around the windows to match the windows on the existing building. A future painted mural is also proposed along the south elevation as depicted on the color rendering. 3 new curb cuts proposed along the western half of the property would provide access to the new facility and the employee parking lot. 2 curb cuts would be located along Heck Drive, north and west property lines, and then 1 along Brewster Creek Boulevard along the south property line. An internal access drive north of the new facility would link both buildings for vehicular and emergency access. Pedestrian linkages have also been provided on the subject property. Employees would be able to utilize a 5-foot wide sidewalk beginning within the parking lot, leading to the west, north, and south sides of the new building, as well as providing access to the existing building. In addition, a missing segment of the 8-foot wide bike path will be installed along the north side of Brewster Creek Boulevard, providing a walking path from Stearns Road to east of Spitzer Road as part of the overall Brewster Creek Business Park Bike Path Network. 6 new loading docks as well as 7 drive-in doors would be located along the east elevation and will be covered with canopies to protect the food products being loaded onto the trucks. These loading areas would coordinate with the loading areas of the existing building, which are oriented westward, creating 1 internal loading area on the subject property. Access to the loading areas would be via a direct route from either the north Heck Drive or from the south Brewster Creek Boulevard, with a security gate and/or guardhouse provided at each curb cut location. The new building will primarily consist of the production lines on the ground floor with several office areas proposed. The second and third floors will also include some offices, but will primarily house mechanical equipment. An 8-foot-high chain-link black fence is proposed around the perimeter of the west half of the 18-acre site, including the front and corner side yards, which will require a variation request. This fence is needed for security purposes and matches the fence currently located on the eastern half of the subject property for the existing building. Each of the curb cuts associated with the new parking lot will be gated, and employees would need key cards to access this site. Visitors to the property would still enter at the existing guardhouse, which will now be moved slightly southward from its present location, to allow for improved maneuverability in the loading area and added security into the adjacent passenger vehicle parking lot. This item did go before the ZBA last week and was recommended for approval. The petitioners also asked for a second variation for a reduction in the number of required parking spaces from 403 to 393. The petitioner has stated that the new building will have approximately 90 employees on one shift with a maximum of 180 employees at shift change. Staff believes the parking spaces identified on the plan will meet the demand for this new facility. The existing building currently has approximately 120 employees and 100 parking spaces provided on the site, and the approved 108 temporary parking spaces will be eliminated with the construction of the new building, which would provide a total of 500 total spaces on the site. This item was also recommended for approval by the zoning board last Thursday night. Landscaping and engineering plans are currently being reviewed by the staff. A site development permit has been issued by the building department for mass grading on the site to prepare the property for any future development, and staff does recommend approval subject to the conditions and findings of fact outlined in your staff report, and the petitioners are here tonight.
Okay, thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Could you stand, and anyone else that's going to give testimony? I'd like to get sworn in, please, this minute. Could you raise your right hand? you swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Thank you. Would you state your name and address, please?
Al Trupiano, construction manager at Rana, 550 Spitzer Road, Bartlett.
For Oslager, Cornerstone Architects, 1152 Spring Lake Drive, Itasca.
Joe Avenelli with Manhart Consulting, 700 Springer Drive, Lombard.
Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add to staff's report?
No, I think we covered it all. I think we're okay.
Okay. Members of the commission have any questions? No one? Okay, then at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public. Do we have anyone have a question? No one filled out a form? No one in the audience have a question, comment? Public portion is closed. Are there any other questions or comments from the?
The loading docks from the two buildings just back up to one another. There's a ton of room there for the trucks to,
Yeah, we've done already the studies of the truck traffic, truck moving. We're gonna schedule a lot of the in and out of the buildings. We're gonna know when receiving is gonna be happening, so we're gonna schedule it accordingly. Receiving and shipping happen at different times of the day, so that helps.
I like how you've done that, actually.
I'm sorry?
I like how you've done that.
Oh, thank you, appreciate it.
Anyone else?
Down there. Nice.
Okay, then at this time, I'm looking for a motion to approve the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and findings of fact.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
These are going too fast for me here. Diane Nagel?
Yes.
Austin Hopkins?
Yes.
Jack Allen? Yes. Tom Connor?
Yes.
Tim Breidenauer?
Yes.
John Miasso?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck. Okay. Get that one out, okay. Our next item on the agenda is 17-16, Home Depot Outlot number 2. This is going to be a preliminary and final re-subdivision of Lot 1 of the Home Depot subdivision, a second site plan amendment for Lot 1 of the Home Depot subdivision, and a site plan for Lot 2 of the Home Depot re-subdivision, with special use permits for 1, to allow a drive-through establishment, and B, to allow outdoor seating. And again, this is a public hearing, so if anyone has a comment or question, form is on the table in the back there. Fill it out, please, and return it to Jim.
Let's see.
Okay, Angela. You have all the documents that we need there?
Yes, I do. And I actually have two to add to it that I will talk about, two different letters that have come in that I'll discuss after I go through the project. So the subject property is located at the southwest corner of 59 and Stearns Road. It was actually annexed to the village in 1963, and then the Home Depot subdivision was approved in the year 2000. During that approval in the year 2000, they were granted a couple different variations that do pertain to this site, which is along the front yard parking setback, the side yard parking setback, and a parking variation for the Home Depot lot as a whole, which we are also seeking a further reduction since then. In 2001, they actually amended the site plan for Home Depot to eliminate that right-in, right-out that was along Route 59. It was actually never constructed, and then taking the right-in, right-out actually added an additional 68 parking spaces back into Home Depot. And then in subsequent years, all the outlots were sold off and built upon. So the petitioner is requesting a preliminary and final re-subdivision of Lot 1 of the Home Depot subdivision to create an outlot for a commercial retail building, and a second site plan amendment for Lot 1 of the Home Depot subdivision to create new Lot 2. Home Depot does propose to add 11 parking stalls west of the building, and which would be to the top, 7 parking spaces on the northwest corner of the parking lot, totaling 18 new stalls, which does help a little to the overall count. There is a parking summary in your report. So they actually were approved back in 2000 for a variation of 450 stalls. So adding in this new lot will take them actually down to 395 parking spaces. And then just in the parking summary, it shows during the summer, it'll go down to about 299. This was discussed by the Zoning Board of Appeals last week, and they did recommend approval for the parking reduction. The petitioner is also requesting a site plan for Lot 2 of the Home Depot re-subdivision for about a 40,000 square foot lot to be located along Route 59, directly south of the mobile gas station. A proposed 8,200 square foot commercial building is proposed and would be constructed for 4 future tenants. There will be a drive-through that will be oriented towards there will be a drive-through located on the west and south sides of the building. And the commercial retail outlet is physically separated from the Home Depot parking lot by 2 curb medians along the west and south property lines. The western median creates a stacking lane and a bypass lane for the drive-through located on the south side of the building. There will be access to the site through 2 current access points to the west and to the south on the Home Depot lot. And then an additional access point will be a new cross-access easement with the mobile gas station to the north, which was recorded in 2010 but not ever constructed. 3 other variations were requested on Lot 2, which is a reduction in the front yard setback along the southern property line, a reduction from the side yard parking setback along the northeastern property line, and a reduction in the rear yard building setback along the western property line. These variations were discussed at the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they also recommended for approval. The petitioner is also requesting a special use permit to allow outdoor seating with about 12 seats. They will also have a bike rack and a 36-inch high fence to separate the outdoor seating from the parking lot and drive-through. They're also requesting a special use permit to allow a drive-through establishment. The drive-through pickup window will be located on the south side of the building, and the menu order board will be located on the west side of the building and provide stacking for about 5 vehicles. The site plan for Lot 2 identifies a total of 55 parking stalls, which does exceed the zoning ordinance requirements. A traffic impact analysis estimates that the proposed outlot will still leave a surplus of parking for the Home Depot site. It also noted that there is about 10 stacking spaces provided from the pickup window to the end of the parking lot, which is obviously a good thing. The traffic impact analysis also states that the proposed retail outlet use will not adversely impact existing off-site access level of service. I would like to, staff recommends approval of the petitioner's request subject to the findings of fact and conditions outlined in your report. I did pass out, the first thing was actually a letter from the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. They own the property to the west of Home Depot, so behind the Home Depot site. They just said thank you for letting us thank you for letting us know about this, but they don't have any concerns with this petition. And then Home Depot actually also wrote a letter stating that they're in support of creating this new Lot 2, and that they do not feel, in their opinion, that they will have any issues with parking by eliminating these stalls in the corner. The petitioner and Home Depot is actually here if you have any questions. Representative from Home Depot.
Okay, thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Do you stand, and anyone else that's going to be giving testimony be sworn in, please? You swear the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Thank you. Would you like to state your name and address, please?
Good evening. My name is Lawrence Friedman. I'm the attorney for petitioner. My address is 77 West Washington Street in Chicago. We have representatives, as staff indicated, of the petitioner and Home Depot and our traffic consultant. We can run through any aspect of this that the commission would desire to see, and we're available to answer any questions which you may have.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. The parking that's going to be on the west and on the north side, who do you think is going to park there?
Introduce yourself.
My name is David Mangurten, architect with offices at 1121 Lake Cook Road, just moved, 1121 Lake Cook Road in Deerfield.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Means. I'm with Gewalt Hamilton. My address is 625 Forest Edge Drive in Vernon Hills, Illinois. We prepared the traffic impact and parking study for the proposed development. And pertaining to the far west side, we would expect that those spaces would be designated for employees of the Home Depot use. If there wasn't sufficient parking, obviously, within the other lot is needed, that those would be mainly only used by Home Depot employees. And same with those far parking spaces there, that those would be the farthest parking spaces from the building, and those and such would be used by employees only.
And I'm sorry, they actually did modify the plan. If you see the highlighted median right here, that was actually suggested by our traffic consultant, so you don't have just a direct bypass straight through the parking lot. So they did add, or they actually relocated this median so that it would kind of deter people and make sure that they go around.
Well, that brings me to my second question. Why isn't that continued on through so traffic can go north there to get to the drive-through instead of going all the way around the building?
Do you mean right through here?
Right. Why isn't that road continued? It stops right there.
We would suggest that most traffic entering, instead of going through that circulation there, if they're entering the drive-through, they would either, follow the path to come south, or they would follow the path further north in front of the Home Depot and then turn in. So there's circulation paths either way from accessing from that south access. And in essence, it's to, instead of segregate those parking areas and create an additional drive-through there, it's to basically defer and to slow traffic through that existing parking field. So it's not to open up another main thoroughfare through the access where we feel the main north-south and the main east-west along the south and along the north access points are sufficient enough to provide adequate circulation within the site. And it was also the consultant's, review consultant's recommendation as well from the village.
So then the circulation coming from the drive-through, when they come through there, they're headed east, they go, now they have to head south and go back?
Right, because most of the traffic exiting from the drive-through is exiting at that corner there. So their continuing path is either going to go along that path and then continue there, which majority of the site traffic from the coffee shop use, studies have found that over 65% of coffee shops, either Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts type uses, are drive-through traffic. So we would expect majority of the coffee shop type drive-through traffic to be exiting at that point. So providing that through access through there doesn't provide as much of a significant benefit, since most of the traffic is going to be concentrated from that corner there. So they'll be exiting that way, following along that path, and/or they would continue and then come out either that exit right there via the connection to Mobile, or they would come back through the access and exit onto Stearns Road.
And you don't think that's a potential for an accident when somebody's backing out of one of those stalls?
I'm sorry, which stall?
You don't think that's a potential for an accident when somebody's backing out of the stall and you got drive-through traffic going through the parking lot?
Directly, one of our recommendations was directly across from the drive-through that those be designated for employees. So that way there's minimal turnover of traffic opposite the drive-through exit.
Any questions from members?
Yes, can you address that potential for diagonal vehicle crossing conflict between the retail outlet and Mobile Drive there that's on my sheet? I think it's the mobile access point.
Mobile access, that point right in there.
No, it's where, oh yes, right there.
Cross access there.
I just have a page here from Coulter that lists a potential for diagonal vehicle crossing conflict between the retail outlet drive and the mobile drive on Route 59, where apparently people coming in from 59, southbound 59, coming in the mobile entrance, might be conflicting with people exiting the mobile.
Well, yes, we have found that the queuing along the exit drive not to exceed 2 vehicles. We wouldn't expect it to extend beyond that point. And as well as vehicles coming in, we feel that there is adequate access that they could come around without creating a diagonal cross there, that folks will actually drive.
Because apparently correct me if I'm wrong, the northern entrance to mobile is going to be closed.
That will be closed.
With the improvement of the intersection. So that only leaves the one entrance exit on 59
And
for mobile.
That's correct, and our study did take that into consideration, as well as one access remaining on Stearns Road.
Which the one out of Mobile will be a right-in, right-out essentially.
Yes.
Not with a pork chop, because there will be a median on Route 59.
Right. So it's a right in, right out, but you have people exiting the lot, the coffee station, let's call it that. Apparently, the conflict on here was people coming in and cutting across the mobile property to the new outlot with people exiting the mobile station, like a crisscross.
And we, I believe, as part of the recommendation as well, too, was essentially for the traffic to come out of there to basically stop before the cross access. And so that way there would be adequate sight distance. So somebody would essentially be stopped prior to turning, and then they would only be making basically the rights coming in and rights coming out.
Where's the stop sign? Where's the stop?
I'm sorry?
Where's the stop sign at?
There would be a stop sign basically at the property limits facing north. So essentially, when they're coming out prior to getting to that intersection, they would be stopped, and then they would make the turn. So it would eliminate that cutting.
You're talking about people exiting the...
Exiting, yes.
I'm talking about people coming in, southbound 59 coming in,
Okay.
crossing through the mobile property, having a conflict with people exiting the mobile property.
Well, the people exiting are going to be facing eastbound, aligned exiting. So the people coming in will be making a turn and coming around.
So there's room.
Yes. We found that our analysis, as well as review of existing conditions and projections of the future site traffic, that there will be adequate stacking to stack a vehicle there that would not inhibit a vehicle from turning around that maneuver.
Is this single access point at mobile going to be increased in size any, since they're losing their other one?
State that again, please.
The single access point to the mobile off of 59, is that going to be increased in size since they're
Yes.
losing their other one?
It is, yeah.
All right.
It's going to be improved.
Yeah, I have a bit of a concern with the entrance into the Home Depot parking lot near the Sonic. As you enter the parking lot there, you're going to have, during the spring, when this area is all seasonal, and so you just left with this one lane, you're going to have a major stacking problem, especially Saturday and Sunday mornings, with people trying to turn left to go to Starbucks or whatever coffee shop that's going there. And you're going to have, because you're going to have all of these other people that are going to be trying to get to the seasonal area, and you're going to have people trying to exit, you're going to have people trying to turn left, people trying to go straight. So what's the thinking when, during the spring and early summertime, when this area is closed off?
Our traffic study was conducted when that area was closed off, So all of our traffic projections and volumes coming into and out of at that intersection did accommodate peak traffic conditions. We counted our both parking as well as traffic counts in May, which represents the peak sales months for Home Depot. So the volume counts that we had were a worst-case scenario that did take into account the peak hours of entering and exiting, and we did analyze the turns coming in and the turns coming out and found it to be adequate to accommodate the additional site traffic.
What's the space between the parking spaces and that one lane there? Is that everything is roped off? So it would be, right, the parking to the, right and through there. What's the spacing of that whole entire lane?
The adjacent lane, I believe is 24 feet. So that's a two-way traffic maintained there, which is consistent with, I believe, with village standards.
Okay. And then with them redoing Stearns, and maybe it's more of a question for staff, is there going to be a left-hand turn lane into this parking, into the Home Depot?
No, the only way to turn, if you're heading north on Route 59,
If you're crossing over 59 headed west, and you want to turn into Home Depot, Sonic at that entrance up at the,
Yeah, good.
right through here, is there going to be a left-hand turn lane put in?
Where do you have to go?
There's one now.
Like a mirrored turn lane, because that's going to be
It's over here.
basically a
Not here.
four-legged intersection, because it's right across from the access into the Bartlett
Not one
Commons.
here.
So that, you'll have barrier median up to there. You'll have an ability to get over and move, because it's going to be dual lefts in all legs. And then that will have that kind of turn, so you could turn left into Bartlett Commons and turn left into Home Depot. And then you'll have a barrier median continuing west of there. That's the design.
Okay.
there will be a turn lane going into Home Depot up here.
Yes, and then another one up there, that's right.
Are left turns going to be allowed coming out of that lot, just in that, right there? Yeah, is there left turns going to be allowed going on to Stearns heading west?
They will be allowed as they are today.
There were what?
They will be continued to be allowed to turn left out as they are today. That's correct. The barrier median will start just to the east
So
of
that's
that
going
access.
to change there, because right now it's a double yellow line. But people still turn left in. There's a lot of accidents in that area there. As you have people trying to take a left out of there, people trying to take onto Stearns going west, and also people trying to take a left into the lot from traveling west, in there.
Correct. We did review the crash history as part of our analysis, and we didn't find there to be a significant volume of collisions at that location. Some of the congestion that is currently realized at that intersection, especially in the eastbound direction from 59, will be alleviated with the significant capacity improvements that will be implemented there. On all four legs of that intersection, there's going to be a second left turn lane, so all four legs will have dual left turn lanes. They will also, each of them, have a right turn lane as well. And then again, the barrier median will prohibit some of the turns from those immediate access points from the mobile and the BP directly adjacent from there. So there are safety measures improved. With the capacity, some of that backup that extends further to the west of there is not going to be as realized with those improvements in place. So we would expect there to be improvements through this location as well.
There's also cars that go across Stearns that go into the other establishment,
Through
business
traffic through
north
there.
of that.
Correct.
So they're going to be crossing over 2 lanes of left turns.
At that location, the dual left turn lanes taper back, so you have just 2 through lanes in the eastbound direction, you have 2 through lanes in the westbound direction, and then you have the beginning of the and I don't know if we should call up a image of that or not, but then basically at that point, you'll be starting the improvements for the left turn lane, so there'll be a slightly wider section that may be able to store, get one or partially one part of the vehicle over that would make a left into there, but the main left would be, the main left turn lane is going to be at that westerly access.
I hope so. I mean, that should be the way it is now, but people don't use that, and there's a lot of accidents, or there's a lot of near accidents at that intersection because they're crossing over that road. So that's, I hope you take that into consideration, because it's been a problem in Bartlett where they're crossing over the yellow line to take a left into that Home Depot lot. And it's a short spurt from the light on 59 and Stearns to that turn entrance. And there's no stopping the cars coming from the westbound, because they're traveling 35, 40 miles an hour, because they're coming from an area that doesn't have any traffic, because you're from the forest reserve there. So it's just it gets very tight there, and a lot of cars entering and exiting. So I'm hoping that if your traffic study says that that's going to help alleviate that, because there's been many near accidents, if they haven't had accidents, because I work in the area over there, and I've seen it, I hear it, and it's daily. So I hope that's something that's alleviated with this. I don't see it right now, though. I don't see it. That's my concern.
Anyone else have a question?
I would think maybe it'd be an improvement, though, as Jim was saying, there's going to be that turn lane in the center, right? So Stearns will at least be a little wider at that point.
Right, it's going to be a lot wider. The whole intersection improvement that IDOT and the county are doing is the preeminent feature of it is safety and traffic congestion relief. And as Lynn stated, those dual lefts, you won't have that big backup. You're going to have more cars going through those intersections with secured turn signals. You'll have the ability to turn right, so you won't have cars stopping and backing up cars behind them. It's all designed, it's a safety improvement intersection because of all the accidents that are currently on 59 and Stearns intersection. So that's.
Sounds like it should be better.
Oh, yeah.
Except, like Tim was saying, I'm a little concerned about people coming at maybe a high rate of speed off of 59 in a caffeine craze cutting into that mobile lot.
You know, that's a movement that will be still available, but I don't think many people are going to take it. And I'll be surprised if that mobile stays there once they start doing this improvement. They take all the right-of-way, make all the improvements.
Because there'll be no access from the north into the mobile, right?
You'll be coming into that mobile through this entrance to the Home Depot. That'll be the best way and safest way.
Okay.
Won't be wide open like
Too many
it is now.
accidents there.
I'm guessing the mobile owner isn't too thrilled with this plan, maybe?
I don't know if they weighed in on this plan, but they're not thrilled with it.
Okay.
Just to be clear, the green space fronting 59 is not changing.
Here.
That setback is staying the same.
That is correct.
Open for turns here.
And I'm sorry, if I can add one other thing I know is related to additional traffic with this development. As I noted, the coffee shop type use is going to be the highest traffic generator of the retail center. Of that traffic, studies have shown, and our data confirms, that most of that site traffic is not new traffic added to the network, the roadway network. So majority of that traffic, over 65, 75+% of that traffic is already on the adjacent street network right now. So a lot of it is what we refer to as pass-by traffic. So say folks that are traveling eastbound on Stearns Road, they're already on Stearns eastbound. So they would turn right into the site, and then they would go get their coffee, and then if they're continuing to go to the, say Destin to the south on 59, they would turn right out. Majority of the traffic that we have seen for Starbucks or for coffee shops, for Dunkin' Donuts type developments. Majority of that is all right-in, right-out traffic, over 65 to 75%. So we're not adding a significant volume of those left turns coming in and out, because I know as myself, even personally, a lot of folks choose coffee shops that are convenient, and/or they will choose another one. And that's why you have multiple ones located along your routes. They choose ones that are predominantly on that east, or on that traffic flow, that's the morning traffic flow. And an important also thing to note is with the coffee shop, majority of the traffic is going to be generated prior to 10 a.m. Again, a lot of the Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks that we've worked for, over 65 to 70% plus of their traffic is done before 10 a.m. So a majority of that traffic is not going to coincide with the other shopping center traffic and/or a lot of your peak traffic that is outside on those adjacent street networks as well too. And another, again, important note too is that it will be a type of synergy too with the other uses within there, that some of the traffic also too won't be coming from the network. It may be somebody that's also frequenting a patron of the Home Depot or say the bank, et cetera. They may go there and then go pick up, a coffee on their way out. So it's not that significant of a generator of new traffic to this adjacent network as well.
Any other questions? And at this time, we'll open up to the public. If there's anyone in the audience that has a question or comment. Jim?
Not have any witness forms on this one either.
No form. No one in the audience has a question or comment? Close the public portion. Is there any other comments or questions from the members?
I'd be curious, with the traffic study, do you have an estimate of how many of those people will come out of the coffee shop and go down and utilize the light on 59 to go south, as opposed to turning out of the mobile station closer to the intersection?
I apologize. I don't know if you have the packet that has the traffic
I just
study
got
with
it, so I haven't had a chance to
Would
go
be on, see the exhibit directly. So Exhibit 6, within the appendices, it does have the turning movements coming into and out of the site. And as you can see that there's, I believe it's over 25% of the traffic is going to utilize the light for coming in and out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No. Okay, then I'm going to be looking for two motions. First one is a motion for the, to approve the petitioner's request for the preliminary final resubdivision of Lot 1 of the Home Depot subdivision, second site plan amendment for Lot Number 1, and a site plan for Lot Number 2 of the Home Depot resubdivision. Is there a motion to approve the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and findings of fact?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen. Yes. Tom Connor,
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel.
Second motion is for the special use permits, A, to allow a drive-through establishment, and B, to allow outdoor seating. Is there a motion to approve the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and findings of fact?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Tom Connor,
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Allen.
Okay. Thank you and good luck.
My question, I should ask you, I should ask you earlier. Oh my God,
The next item on the agenda is number 17-17, 802 East Devon, third site plan amendment and special use permit for disturbing a wetland. This is a public hearing. If anyone has a question or comment, witness forms are on the back table there. Fill them out, please, and hand it in to Jim. And Angela, do you have all the documents?
Yes, I do. They're up there. I can't reach them.
Okay.
All right, the subject property was annexed also in 1963 and was rezoned R1 single-family residence at the time. The Bartlett Industrial Park was actually approved in February of 1969 and created 5 industrial lots zoned manufacturing. The current building was built in 1969 with additions added in 1986 and 1988, and those were the first and second site plan amendment, which is why we are currently talking about a third site plan amendment today. In 1987, a variation was granted for a 25-foot variation from the 50-foot required transitional side yard adjoining a residence, which is to the west side. When the building was built in 1969, the side yard requirement was only 10 feet. In 1978, through a text amendment, the property to the west was reclassified as R6 multifamily district, which it is still zoned today. The 78 reclassification created a new side yard setback of 50 feet pursuant to the village code. Therefore, through no fault of the petitioner, the building was considered legal nonconforming, and a variation was granted to allow a 25-foot variation from the 50-foot requirement. The building has been vacant since Main Steel vacated the building in 2011. The petitioner is requesting a third site plan amendment for the existing 52,000 square foot industrial building and add an additional 68,000 square feet on a 6.7 acre lot. The building will be constructed for 4 future tenants. It will be constructed of red masonry walls with darker red accents. The 4 proposed office areas will be located on the east side of the building. The building will meet the height requirements. Building permit has been issued for a partial exterior remodel, roof repair, and partial demolition. Work has already commenced, and new brick has been added to the south and west elevations of the existing building, and 2 portions of the warehouse have already been removed. The petitioner is requesting a special use permit to disturb a wetland located in the northeast corner of the site. An application to the Army Corps of Engineers has been submitted, and the report states that this property contains waters of the U.S. The open water area and swales have been determined to be under the jurisdiction of this office and therefore subject to federal regulation. A permit will be required from the Department of the Army before any work within 50 feet of the open water area and swale commence. The petitioner must follow the 3 comments provided in the letter dated August 11, 2017 from HLR, which are part of the conditions in the report. The site plan does show 13 exterior docks on the east side of the building and 1 drive-in door on the north side of the building to be utilized for building maintenance and not day-to-day operations. All the docks are facing away from the residential zoning districts. The existing curb cut off East Devon Avenue will be widened and utilized for all site traffic, passenger cars, and trucks. The petitioner was requesting a variation to reduce the number of required parking spaces from 140 to 95 parking spaces. The zoning ordinance requires 112 spaces for the warehouse and 28 for the office, totaling 140 stalls. The plan, however, does show 51 future parking spaces, which would increase the total parking provided on the site to 146, and if constructed, would meet the zoning ordinance requirements. Those future spaces are actually shown as parallel stalls on the east side, directly across from the loading docks, and then there are about 38 stalls on the north side of the property if needed. So right now they actually show 6 parking stalls for trucks right there that would be currently painted first. The variation was requested and discussed by the Zoning Board of Appeals on September 7th and recommended for approval. A land bank / future parking agreement is currently being drafted, which will include the following language to require the petitioner to install the land bank future stalls If staff does an inspection of the site and it's clear that the tenants or visitors are not parking in the designated parking stalls, we can actually go in there and actually perform the work if they will not do it. They will be posting a bond and a letter of credit, and the parking land bank agreement has to be recorded as well, which is also another condition for approval. Staff does recommend the petitioner's request, subject to the findings of fact and conditions outlined in your report. Staff approval of the engineering and landscape plans, a U.S. Army Corps engineer permit approval, the 3 comments, which is basically they need a maintenance plan, they would need Army Corps permit, the land bank parking agreement, recording that agreement, and signage and landscaping. And the petitioner is here if you have any questions. One thing I will bring up that came up was there's a fence currently on the west side of the property. It's about 10 feet tall. They'll actually be keeping the existing fence to about where Roberta is showing, to where the current building is today. And then it actually kind of diagonally cuts into their property. So they will actually be removing that section of the fence all the way to the north and replacing it with a solid 8-foot fence to meet requirements. So there will still be a fence there. They just had to move it to accommodate the parking on the northwest corner of the lot.
Thank you. Petitioner here this evening? Would you stand, please? And anyone that's going to else have testimony? Could you raise your right hand? You swear the testimony you're about to give is true, accurate, to the best of your knowledge? Do you have anything you'd like to add to the report from staff at this time? Okay. Anyone on the commission have any questions?
What are the potential uses for this? What are the potential uses for this place?
You know, that's industrial building.
Could you state your name and address, please? Your name and address, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Dimitri Poulokefalos Enterprise, 27 Caras Run, South Barrington.
What are the potential uses for this building?
Industrial, light manufacturing. It could be one tenant, it could be 4 tenants. If it's 1 tenant, we got plenty parking. Even if it's 4 tenants coming in, it's going to be smaller tenants, they're not going to get that much parking. Anywhere you look at it, it really works.
Anyone else?
Parking is my concern, where we're reducing it by that much. Roberta, can you just explain to me again how where you're saying that the staff sees that there's a problem, or?
Yeah, so we did this during the very large Exeter building that's out in Brewster Creek, the 400,000 square foot industrial building. They actually land bank about half of their parking because they also weren't sure of their tenants at the time. So what we did is we drafted a land bank parking agreement between their attorney and our attorney. And it basically, they post a bond to cover the cost of putting in that future parking if it is definitely needed. So we contact them first and say, you need to put this parking in. And if they don't, then we actually already have money set aside in a bond to do it on the petitioner's behalf. Now, this one's a lot different because it's actually, the future parking is actually already on impervious area. So really, we're just adding striping, parking striping, and 2 parking islands with landscaping. Whereas the other building, it was completely, it would have just been grass area where we had to do all the parking stalls. So that was a very large, significant land bank agreement, whereas this will be very minimal.
And then as far as, do we have to have a number of complaints before something happens? Does staff just do a random inspection, or?
Correct, yes. Staff can just go out there at any time and do an inspection. Typically, those inspections start from a neighbor calling, saying they're parking, everywhere, or they're parking on my property now. And then we would go out there and start that process if need be. I don't foresee that being an issue, just depending on the tenant is, obviously, but there's definitely a room on this property.
And then maybe more of a question for the petitioner. Are there going to be lights on the back of the building? Because there's residential.
Yes, there will, actually.
Okay.
We have designed the lights, too.
And so there.
Be lights all over around the building.
Is there going to be anything that's going to be high enough that's going to be reflecting into those residents that live behind there?
You know, something we can work around with that. It's not necessary to be height, but we'll make sure that they will not affect with the.
We did photometric studies. The lights are going to be located approximately at few feet below the parapet. We have different parapet heights, but based on the study of the photometrics, we're not going to cause any eliminations on the neighboring properties.
And say there is an issue, say one of those neighbors does have a problem going forward, is there something that can be done to adjust them
Yes,
or?
the light fixtures are adjustable, so that could be modified.
Angela, do you know what Main Steel actually did there when they were there? Roberta or Jim?
Main Steel used to do finishing sheet metal. The best thing I could the example, they do some of those decorative kind of metal finishes. It's not corrugated, it was buffed, finished sheet metal. Number of applications.
They took those rolls of steel?
Yeah, they did rolls, they did sheets too. I've seen it used in bar finishes, but it's been a lot of different, it had a lot of different uses. They moved their operation down to Texas a couple of years ago.
Anyone else have a question, comment? No. Okay, this is a public hearing. We'll open up to the public. Anyone in the audience have a question or comment?
No witness forms on this one either.
Okay. Again, anyone in the audience? Public portion is closed. Any final questions or comments from the members? No.
Austin, I did want to note that there will be no lights on the west side of the building. I think that's what you were referring to. There'll just be one parking lot light on the north, and it's actually pretty far away from the property line.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Okay, then we'll be looking for a motion to approve the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and findings of fact. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Jack Allen? Yes. Tom Connor?
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour?
Yes.
John Miasso?
Yes.
Diane Nagel?
Yes.
Austin Hopkins?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good luck. The next item on the agenda is number 17-22, Get Fresh, Brewster Creek Business Park, lot number 9N1, site plan review. That's Mr. Berta.
The petitioner is requesting a site plan review for a proposed 151,000 square foot warehouse building on a 9.5 acre lot in the Brewster Creek Business Park in Unit 1. This building would be constructed as a second building for the existing Get Fresh facility located directly to the north of this property across Schiffrel Road. The subject property is currently being utilized as a temporary parking area for employees and trailers for Get Fresh. The proposed building would be 44 feet 10 inches in height and constructed with insulated precast concrete wall panels, painted light gray with dark gray accent panels. Light and dark green banding would provide additional accents on each of the elevations and coordinate with the glass and metal entry feature. The 16,000 square foot office area would be located along the north and east portions of the building within the mezzanine area. An interior truck maintenance area would be located at the southeast corner of the facility, along with the 29 exterior docks also located along the east side of the building. 3 curb cuts are proposed along Schiffrel Road. The west curb cut would be utilized by passenger vehicles accessing the parking lot, while the 2 eastern curb cuts would be utilized by trucks accessing the loading docks. The far eastern curb cut would serve as an entrance only, while the curb cut located just to the west would serve as an exit only. Appropriate signage would be posted at each location. There would be no direct access to Brewster Creek Boulevard. Petitioner has purchased approximately 15,000 square feet of land at the northeast corner of Stearns Road and Brewster Creek Boulevard from Elmhurst Chicago Stone. It was part of the detention easement, but was not actually utilized for detention purposes. This land, included in the 9.5 acre total depicted on the site plan, provides additional acreage for passenger vehicle parking on the site and eliminated the need for a variation request to reduce the number of required parking spaces on the site. The zoning ordinance requires 136 parking stalls for the warehouse use and 59 stalls for the office space, totaling 195. The site plan identifies 197 parking spaces, including six accessible stalls, which exceeds the zoning ordinance requirement. There are also 25 straight truck spaces and 22 trailer storage stalls provided within close proximity to the eastern property line. The petitioner estimates a total of 175 employees at a shift change for this use and believes the number of parking spaces provided on the plan will meet their needs. The landscape engineering and photometric plans are currently being reviewed, and the staff does recommend approval of the petitioner's request subject to the conditions and findings of fact outlined in the report, and the petitioners are here tonight.
Okay, thank you. Is the petitioner here this evening? Do you have anything you'd like to add to the, not at this time? Okay, members of the commission have any questions? No.
How many loading docks are there in this building?
Could you state your name and address, please?
Rich Schultz, 1059 Hawthorne Drive, Itasca, Illinois. There's 29 loading docks.
Your other building, is it, you have one building or two buildings across Schiff Road?
We have one.
Is that the one next, is that on the corner of Brewster or the other one?
Right here. This is Get Fresh.
All right.
This lot is currently under construction right now. There's walls up on this property right here.
I'm just wondering, sorry.
Anyone else with a question? Okay. At this time, we'll be looking for a motion to approve the petitioner's request, subject to the following conditions and finding of fact.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Terry, call the roll.
Tom Connor,
Yes.
Tim Ridenhour,
Yes.
John Miasso,
Yes.
Diane Nagel,
Yes.
Austin Hopkins,
Yes.
Jack Yellen.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Good luck. Next item on the agenda is old business, new business.
You're right there.
Have any real old business other than these projects will be moved on to the village board and village board committee as soon as possible for their final approvals and hopefully construction. Some of them want to start this year. And I don't know if we have anything for next month. I don't think at this time yet, so.
Yeah, we got everything in this month.
Pretty much everything came because everybody wanted to get going. So it's kind of the last meeting before, you know, and we're trying to get them on the board as soon as possible. They'll be either next week or first week of October for approval so they can start construction. And as I think the Rana one already had some kind of special dispensation to start doing grading already.
How many lots are still open in Brewster Creek?
There's a handful. One, couple big ones. One's, you see that grading on Munger? That's another big one. Possibly where the cement plant's at, that cement plant is considered to move. And then there's some smaller lots around like Hart Circle and Humbrock in that kind of south of where that grading's at. You know where the big storage building's at, the, kind of behind there. And then, that's pretty much it. These, as Roberta said, that one on the right's under construction, this one, and then even north of that building, that's under construction already. So it's
That one's actually built. It's further
built
north.
already,
It's
yeah.
under construction.
So, and I think there's one more lot up there, and that, or no, that's it, that's all.
What do you foresee happening with the Cook County part of this?
Well, they are doing the construction of Spitzer Road right now. You see a lot of truck traffic on that by the fire station. The construction of Spitzer is part of the refinancing for the whole industrial park. And the thought is that with Spitzer Road completed, that there'll be better access to Cook County, and working with the property owner and trying to generate some interest. We might even explore like those Cook County tax incentives that we've offered like to Siebert and to Maine Steel to entice them, where, you know, bigger warehouse or just outside storage. So there's a number of opportunities. And it's 2022 is the end date of the TIF district. And, you know, hopefully that all will be developed too.
Nice.
That's all I have. I don't think they have any more.
Anyone else have a question, comments? No. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, who was that?
John, Tom, and Austin.
Favor?
Austin? thank you.
Aye.
Hey. Meeting adjourned. Wow, we zipped on through that.
That was good.
Hey, we have to take over for the trustees.
I'm going to pick up my petitions now so you can get them signed.
You want all these